One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second segment of today's edition of CovInspiration. It's another amazing conversation. We just finished with the Honorable Commissioner for Education in Lagos State. We're now going to speak to one of the most important cabinet member, which all of us are concerned about the work that she's doing, and we have interest in speaking to her. She is a former director in Julius Berger, 30 years of experience in the sector, who has now brought a wealth of experience into the public sector to help transform Lagos and make us a greater city. Please welcome with me, Engineer Mrs. Aramide Adeyoye. Honorable Commissioner, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Israel. Thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I can imagine, I know that you were also affected by the traffic, so ultimately you know what is going on in Lagos, and I'm sure that you're going to tell us what you're doing about it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Before we go into what you're doing about it, I first want to ask you, what has been your experience in the last 1 year, transforming from the private sector to public sector?
Oh, beautiful question. It's a world of difference, I can tell you that. Coming from a private sector background where you have things running fast and snappy, decisions are faster and quicker. When you come to the civil service, the public domain, it's a little bit different. It's restrictive, but at the same time, there are necessary controls. It's a world of difference, but I tell you the two. I will tell you that it does. The reasons for that restrictiveness is there. In all, I found it very, very easy to transform from one to the other. It's been interesting. I've gotten along easily with people, my peers, but for me, it's quite enough experience.
What would you consider your biggest lesson so far in this community, in this world of work?
Well, I would say something that in everything that you do, take service as your ultimate goal. And coming on board with the determination that you want to make things different and better, and you're ready to render this service, the people you owe the obligation to are the people that you're actually delivering that service to. So every day that I wake up, I tell myself, what can I do better? How exactly can we do to relieve the pressure that people are going through, the citizenry? And the interesting part of it is the fact that the themes agenda of the administration of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Dr. Bafemi Hamzat, it's in the cardinal focus, the themes agenda. You see this ministry standing on the four pillars, the T agenda is clearly stated, it's there, the vision is there. And that's what we're implementing. This ministry just speaks to that, and everything we do is centered around that, providing all of the infrastructure, providing the infrastructure as depicted in that encapsulated in that program.
Now, before I go into what Lagosians really want to hear and talk about, you're a woman in leadership. You're a woman in leadership. You're at the forefront of policy making, first at the private sector and now in the public sector. Would you say that you're satisfied with the level at which women are being engaged in leadership, in particular in the public sector? And how can we increase women participation in public sector leadership?
Beautiful question. You know, when I came in, I didn't even realize I was the first person that would sit on that seat as the first female special advisor on works and infrastructure in Lagos. It did hit me as a surprise. But I always say something, gender parity, if there is something, they will take, and I've seen this happen. In this cabinet, it's the highest number, this cabinet has the highest number of women in the entire history of the state. It's never happened. And that speaks to the fact that women are coming up. They're coming up, women, yes. And any society that doesn't give women the leadership role it deserves will find out that something is missing. Mr. Governor, on the 8th of March, when it was International Women's Day, he was given the award, the he for she. It speaks to the fact that this is somebody who is ready to give women their primary role, their responsibility, they're not ready to be relegated to the background. And I think it's demonstrating that clearly. And the women that are in cabinet, they're not just there because they're women, they're there because they're Amazon in their own rights. they have what it takes to come into leadership. And so a lot of things are expected from them. And I'm sure by the grace of God, we will not disappoint the whole city. And I think many more are coming up.
Now you're absolutely, and we celebrate Mr. Governor for prioritizing, because if you look at the critical ministries in Lagos State and agencies, you find the women are playing key roles. But let's go back to your experience, in particular from where you've come from in Julius Berger. And you know that engineering is largely considered a male-dominated sector. Does being a woman in this workspace, both in engineering and also in government, does it put pressure on you to perform and not to fail your generation or your gender? Do you feel pressured because you're a woman to do more?
Not at all, not at all. You said it rightly. When you study engineering, well, I graduated over 33 years ago, and I graduated in 1987. And so that tells you that in those days, women were not known to read engineering. So we were probably about 4 in my class that were female. The current deputy governor in Ogun State, myself, a former ED, 2-time ED in Access Bank and GT Bank, and myself. We were 4 ladies in the engineering class. So that tells you, because you were 4 in a class of 90. It doesn't put you under pressure to perform, but what it does is that it makes you know that you need to know your onions so that you are not pushed aside. It doesn't put you under pressure, because from day one when you decide to read engineering, you know that you are not doing a course one of the mill. And that's what I've always, over the years, what I've always done is to make sure that you are diligent in everything that you do. You take time to do things excellently well, that you're not found wanting, that somebody is not going to say, oh, it's because she's a woman. So it doesn't come to me as when people tell me, say, oh, is it because she's a woman? And I say, don't use that language. I don't even see myself as a woman. I see engineering as a profession that anybody can practice, either man or woman. And when I was my career, I started my career with Julius Berger. For many years, they were not employing women, but I think I broke the ice. By the time they saw what they had, they decided they were going to employ more women. So I created the room for everybody, which I've always done. I try to make the way, and other people come in. So I'm like a barrier breaker, in short.
You shatter the ceiling.
Yeah, that's the same way that I say I'm a product of grace, because I come from a family of 7. I'm the 5th of the 7 children, so I always call myself a grace product.
So, what role has your faith played in your journey? Talking about being a grace product, your faith, has faith played in your journey?
Tremendously. You cannot, when you know that you're a product of grace, every day of your life, you know that you owe it to somebody. That life, you know that is not yours. And the only reason why God has created you is for you to be a blessing to people, for you to know that just worship him, do things that he has committed into your hands to do, and do it well. He will always be with you. Even when things appear difficult, rough, stormy, he has a way of navigating, and you find yourself. I tell people, if somebody told me that a year ago I would be a special advisor to the Governor of Works and Infrastructure, I would tell you, in the first instance, I'm not a politician. I've never found myself in this sphere. Yes, I'm a technical person, but I never imagined that I'll be one. I do things, yes, I do advise privately. I do things, professionally, but not in the public sphere. And normally, I'm a private person by nature. So asking me to come to the public domain sphere and then do this, it was a real challenge. It was surprising, but I guess God knew the end from the beginning, and things just worked out that way.
Talking about challenges and all of that, in the last 1 year, have you had a time where you thought, what did I get myself into?
Yes, to be real with you, yes. I've never found it difficult working. I'm a dogged person. I believe in performance. I'm not bothered if you tell me there's a task to be done. It has to be, whatever it costs, it has to be done. So I don't count that as a burden. But I found myself having to navigate being from a top technocrat to be a politician and a technocrat as well. I think that was, for me, that was the terrain that I and I'm still learning. I'll be very honest with you. I wouldn't say I'm there. I'm still learning because I'm a blunt person. I say it the way it is, but I'm learning now to understand things from perspective of politics, not just being a technocrat every now and then.
Mrs. Adeyoye, what would you want to be remembered for at the end of this first 4 years? What would you want Lagosian to say she did to Lagos?
That the woman
Your
came.
legacy.
A woman came and I tried to transform the infrastructural landscape of Lagos. Things that were itherto looked like they were abandoned, she was able to revamp it. And that I can tell you, you begin to see in the projects that Governor Babajide Olusola and Dr. Kadri Abubakar and that are putting up. Projects like Fort Mainland Bridge, I pray that it comes up alive. We are in the process of now, in December, I think we opened the bids. 51, the expression of interest was opened. 31 people, after evaluating, 31 people came up. We went into the RFP process. Now we're about to go into the RFQ process, and now we're about to go into the RFP process, so we might get a preferred bidder, and we begin to get financial proposals. It will be my greatest joy when I see that project come alive. Even if it's not finished in this first 4 years, ready on stream. The regional road to the glory of God is already on. We are in the process of concluding the award. That will be a relief for residents along Lekki Ekpe Expressway as an alternative to the present one. That you can leave BGC and then go through Nikon Town, pass through Elegushi, and then come out at Freedom Way in readiness for the Lagoon Express when it's going to be ready. See Ijegun Egba, the petrol tankers road done with the cooperation of the private sector and the tank farm owners. See Lagos-Badagry Expressway. Coincidentally, Lagos-Badagry Expressway was something that in 2009, I was part of the project when it started. So for me, I'm praying and hoping that by the time I leave this administration, it will have been completed. And I think that this administration is doing very well. We're keeping to awards. When Mr. Governor says, come September, we will be in front of LASU. Come next, the following year, 6 months, we will come out at Okoko. These are programs that projects that have said we will meet up at this time. This is where we'll be. Pen Cinema, when we're able to deliver Pen Cinema and deliver it very well in record time, July, and we're able to commission. I think with those four land, the Fort Mainland Bridge, the Pen Cinema finished, the Lagos-Badagry Express concluded, the regional road completed, as well as other inner roads that are ongoing. Ijede Road as well. I think I would have said, given also the level of IGR that we have and the infrastructure deficit gap we're trying to fill, I think I'll feel fulfilled. More importantly, for me, this is the processes that we have institutionalized and put in place now to ensure that value for money, delivery of quality pavements begins to be the norm in Lagos. Once those ones are running smooth and well, when I'm gone, I want Lagosians to be able to say there was a woman who came and who tried to change things so that we begin to do things right.
Excellent. Let's talk about the fact that you talked about keeping your words and achieving Lagos-Badagry Expressway, the regional road and all of that. How has COVID set you back at all in this process or in this period? And why were you not working to meet your target during the lockdown?
Okay, thank you. COVID, like I said, COVID is a new normal now. It's everybody's learning to live with COVID. You know, with the social distancing, the way you will even transport your workers, construction companies, the way you will transport your workers to site. You need to get more vehicles to do that. You need to observe social distancing. They need to have facilities in place where people can wash hands, observe even the kind of task that you give people to do. They need to be able to observe that they're not in more than groups of 15, maximum 20. So in keeping with all of those protocols for COVID, it means that construction companies will begin to fashion out exactly how they will do things to fit into the process. Also, for most of the jobs, the grade A contractors, the multinationals, the expatriates, most of them were locked out in the process. It's caused a setback, some delays, but I think at the end of the day, we're still on course, because when you have the ability to be able to walk back and meet those bridge those gaps that the time that we lost. So that's what COVID has thrown back to us in terms of increase in cost. Because those jobs were awarded pre-COVID, And of course, they're not coming with variations. Everybody knows that COVID is something that's a force majeure. You can have an extension of time, but not necessarily qualifying you for a variation in cost. So I think we're doing good, but those are the downsides of COVID on the projects.
And so is there any other thing that you would consider part of your first year achievement aside from what you've mentioned, including the Fort Mainland Bridge vision that you have? What would you consider your top 7 achievement of the last 1 year to get to that place where you're looking at, the vision that you have, where you want to be by 2023? What is the baby step that you've achieved in the last 1 year? Give me at least 7.
Number 1, capacity development. If you ask capacity development and then the morale, lifting up the morale of the people that I met in my ministry. When I came up on board, everybody was demoralized, and a lot of people felt they were just abandoned, and things were not running the way they were supposed to be. I think that was one of the first things. You cannot be working with a workforce that is demoralized. And I want to thank the commissioner for his tab, the kind of trainings, the programs she's done in the last, the courses, the webinars that she's provided in the last 2 months, particularly during COVID. And then also the things that we have done as for the engineers, the capacity building process, the standard operating procedures that we put in place. We took time. I came on board, and one of the first set of things I kept asking us, why do you do things this way? Don't we have standard operating procedures? And they told me, they said they had something in a pipeline that was not done. And to the glory of God, the first 3 months after that I came in, before December, that standard operating procedures, the guidelines across MDAs, the do's and don'ts, what we must do, has been established and it's been passed. Waiting for the executive order, the secularization of this executive order by the head of service. So that was the first thing, the capacity development amongst the engineers. The next thing also was to say, okay, I haven't done this one now, the welfare, the tools for working, that has also been upgraded. And then institutionalization of processes, the QAQC, the quality control. The public works is an agency under this ministry. And one of the first set of things was, if you can't measure, you cannot even check what you're doing. And so the first set of things to do was to ensure that the laboratory controls in the outputs of the quality of what is coming out, we needed to control that. And that's why you see a new rebranded PwC. Everybody's saying they like what they're doing, they like the way they are laying their asphalt. A lot of investment has been put into equipment, but more importantly, capacity development of the engineers, that they begin to do things right, that they know exactly this is the way to go about it. If you observe all of the roads, the way the asphalting, the laying of asphalt is taking place now, they have so many equipments now, they have the laboratory controls in place, and then the pavement testing. So there is a lab there, even before they produce what they're selling, either they're laying or they are producing for supplies out. Everything is checked all along the way. So the errors in production are minimized, unlike before, So those are, for me, those are the first three things: the capacity development, the motivation and the morale of the people, and then the QAQC procedures and the SOPs that have been put in place. Fourthly is to say, okay, how do we begin to do things in our price, in our costing, to be transparent? And that's we're working on. We're working on templates that we can, across board, across the division, the state, that contractors will begin to look and to say, if you're working in this region, this is the template of your pricing, because then that factors into account the peculiarities or the difficulties of the terrain where you're working. That we're in the process of almost rounding up. Aside all of the numerous projects that we have done, the rigid pavements, we're also beginning to come up with more roads in rigid pavement. The Ojota Expressway, the back portion of that is coming up in rigid pavement. If you notice that, that's the way to go. Because if you use flexible pavements, you see the roads they fill, the cyclical loadings that you have. We also don't keep the way we do articulated trucks do go on the flexible pavements around here is not the way it's done. And then asphalt does get tired. When it gets tired, you're supposed to mill off and then relay. Because you also don't have money for maintenance. We don't budget enough for maintenance in this climate. That's why you see those pavements eventually fail, because you don't routinely do them. So one of the things is to stop that routine maintenance, that we know that this is exactly when we must come in, subject to availability of funds, and we're doing that and mapping out. if you see public works come out, the way we're doing the connectivity, we look at the roads and we say, where exactly are there gridlocks? Part of the theme's agenda was transportation, and the thing in the theme's agenda is traffic and traffic management. For you to do effective traffic management, you need to remove the gridlocks. How do you remove the gridlocks when you have potholes? You recall that when we came in, the rains were terrible. It was like raining cats and potholes. It was pot reading. And the next, Mr. Governor did say at the Pastor Sobaso Imade at that program, he did mention. He said, as soon as the rains are over, we will the platform. We will roll up our sleeves and walk. And that's what we have demonstrated. And in 3 months, we were able to turn around that. By December, because by September, the rains were over, partially over. By October, it was out. So the whole of November, December, and January, all we just did was to mop up all of those. So the idea of potholes, the rains are here now. We are totally not there, but we are out of the woods. Even during the lockdown, we did take time to address critical areas around Oshodi Solo. So all around Lake Latif Salami, Dede Kalisu, coming out by and busting out by all of those areas were addressed. The gridlock, so the connectivity there is all completed. What we have left is to tidy up areas like Expressway as well as Etoiki. Unfortunately for residents, residents don't even know the difference between a federal road and a state road. As far as they're concerned, it's a road that is within Lagos. But as much as the funds are, we try to complement what the federal is doing. Where we have the capacity, we go in and fill in the gap. So for me, those are key critical achievements that we've done. All of those areas have been addressed, are the new projects that are coming on board. I must say the public works, as they are up and doing. It's not the public works that we know before, and for this administration, it's one of the drivers for performance, and they are not disappointed. It does not mean we are there. Yes, please.
I was hoping to hear about what you've done in Ojokoro and the Shomolu network of roads and the others.
I was going to come to that. So I'm just telling you, said, what are the 7 key achievements? I told you, for me, it's about motivation, it's about capacity development, it's about QAQC, it's about ensuring templates, it's about putting your standard operating procedures, in addition to the deliveries of the things we have done. So what are the things that we have done? We've had four roads with this. In the next 1 week, 4 roads will be commissioned in Shomolu. Ladipo and Akinomi in Mushin. You have Ekweme in Badagry that is also completed. That's a 6-kilometer road. That road, it will definitely boost the tourism potential of the state. It's a road that leads to the Whispering Palms in Badagry. You've also had the 31 network of roads in Ojokoro. So all of those ones were in the last 1 year. All of those roads are going to be commissioned or have been commissioned. You've also had new projects come on board. That's the Jede road by Arab contractors. We trying to finish the Penn Cinema. Hopefully by August we should be done with that. The way we're also we're beginning to look at, even ahead of all of this that we have done, we're not resting on our earth. Regional road we have kickstarted. We're about to do that as well. And in Lagos-Badagry Expressway, we will get to the completion target that we have set for ourselves by September at the Lasso Junction, leaving Okokomaiko Junction for third quarter next year. So Abdullahi, those are the roads that have come delivered.
Abdullahi Sadiq says, try and do something about Ibeju Road. What plan do you have for roads like Ibeju and also Ije-Ododo, somewhere in Alimosho and other places in that area?
Thank you. That has been taken care of. Mrs. High-Tech, they've moved to sites as of today. That's a road that was in distress. It's in distress right from Ibeju all the way to Ekpe. What they're doing is the pavement is going to be changed to a rigid pavement. That leads to the Dangote refinery. And then we're intending to have a rigid pavement all there. There's a new cross section that we're doing. And so we begin a repair work now that takes care of the overall future that we're going to have the rigid pavement. So we're doing a work that is not creative, but is a long-term solution. So we're actually going to rebuild the base because the asphalt, we noticed that the sand cement base has failed. So we repair that and then build up the asphalt, the cement base, and then begin to have a written payment on that, and that will form the final layer that we want to constitute the new road alignment. So that has been taken care of, and I'm sure in the coming weeks you will see Mesositech on that stretch. For Ijedodo, for many years that was a road that was abandoned. That contract has also been awarded. It's a road project and a bridge as well. The first segment of it, the road, has been awarded to Mesosotonic. The COVID, like I said, those are the downsides of COVID, because you don't want contractors to work violating all of those rules. So I'm sure with the total release of the gridlock and the lockdown, the contractor will also move back to site.
One of the benefits of this conversation is that people at home are able to ask questions directly. Olu-Aina Moses, okay, before I go to Olu, on your screen you'll see is Taiwo Salvador says, kudos man, the roundabout reformation. We also need to reorient our drivers through Daughters of the Land. And Olu-Aina Moses says, what are you doing about isawo agric road? If you can take both together.
Yes, together. Thank you. I agree absolutely, because you can't keep building these roads without orientating the drivers. We have a drivers institute in Lagos. Lastly, for you to be a driver in Lagos, you ought to have passed through those schools. The office of VIS, lastly, through the office of the Commissioner for Transport, they're doing so many programs just to be able to educate people that they begin to know exactly the rules, the signages, and then how to be courteous on the road, how to obey the traffic rules. And I'm sure when we begin to do that, all of the go-slows that we see, because most of them are man-made. When you see a man suddenly stop on the roadway to pick a passenger, knowing fully well that there's traffic behind a car behind him, obviously that person is not following the rules. We need to begin to orientate people. We can do so much, build roundabouts, but if we don't retrain those drivers, we'll eventually have the same thing that we have been having before. Good question. I agree with you. I cannot agree less. That we're doing already. I think the process of reorientating them is already commenced through the Office of Transportation Commissioner. The other thing about agric isawo was when we came on board, it was one of the projects that we met that was the contractor had left site. And one of the first things that Mr. Governor did was to get the contractor back to site. As I speak, they are there. The road between agric isawo, that road for us is very strategic, because the new Fort Mainland Bridge, when you conclude that road, you will be able to throw the traffic onto the Fort Mainland Bridge. So it's a must that we finish, and the contractor is back on site. They might not be working at full capacity because of the COVID and all of its the lockdown restrictions, but I'm sure when this is over, on full throttle, they'll be back. So the project is not about. Thank you.
Excellent. That's good to hear. What are your next year's budgetary target? Your next budgetary year target?
Okay, so given that we finished we finished Pen Cinema by July delivery, August, we started thinking we need to be able to close up the gap from the Baga Ojodu Baga. We're thinking of dualizing the road that goes from Ojodu Baga all through Pen Cinema, and from Pen Cinema through Abulegba. That way the BRT system begins to work. That when you come down at Ojodu Baga, all you just need to do is go on the BRT, dedicated BRT lane, and all through Pen Cinema, through Okoba. So that's something I slated for next year. We started working on the designs as I speak, and I'm sure before the end of the third quarter, we'll be done with all of those designs and the costings ahead of the budget proposals for next year. That's what one of the roads we're thinking of. In one of the roads we have awarded, that's Obashe Kumade. It's in a bad state. It's awarded already. But one of the reasons why that road was a focal point for us is the fact that the gridlocks, when you say you want to remove gridlocks and you want to have an intermodal transport system in Lagos, you know that there is a jetty there. The whole idea of having that road is to ensure that from the jetty, you can go on that Obashe Kumade with the BRT lanes all there and the bus laybys, just to be able to take the traffic through. In the same way, Ishefu Camp Davis, there's a road that is under construction that goes through, that is in Alimosho, that goes through Ishefu Camp Davis. So you're opening up the waterways to traffic. That's exactly what we're doing. Yeah. So all of those roads will finish next year, and late this year into early next year. But the complementary projects that will ensure that those projects actually begin to complement each other, we've started that. And one critical one is the Ojodu Baga to Pen Cinema, as well as Agidigbi, to dualize Agidigbi. the road.
Anna Akim Agbola Onikoyi says, any plan for the road from Okeranla to Lagos Business School on Etiosa East LCDA? Thanks.
That will come because of it. Like everybody, the budgets with the COVID posed its own challenges. Even though the budget size for works, everybody has had a shave, but the degree of shaving is what has varied from one agency to the other. So some projects were not able to take in the network of roads in the state under the IGR. We will see how we can operate them early in the next year's budget. Okeranla is one of sorts that would come in next year's program.
Excellent. I hope that Mr. Onikoyi, Agbola Onikoyi, is satisfied with that feedback from the Honorable Special Advisor to the government. We have a comment from Abdullahi Sadiq. Almighty Allah will give you strength to do something on the ibeju road, though, because it has wasted a lot of resources, both material and human. Thank you for your positive response. Honorable Special Advisor, what would you say is the value of road infrastructure in the team's agenda and the vision of a greater Lagos, which is why you're spending all this money on road infrastructure?
That value cannot be quantified. You need those roads to be able to move goods, personnel. And they reduce, once you're able to provide good roads, it reduces your downtime. You get to do things, ease of business, your rating also goes high up. So for us in the team's agenda, that's it. The Ministry of Works is saddled with that responsibility of fulfilling that agenda of providing those roads and those road networks.
So the challenge of you, yes, you're on. I can hear you very clearly. Right, I can hear you very clearly. So when a social advisor, the issue, it's a good thing to do the roads, but one of the challenge we also have is the maintenance of the road, because many times lack of easy maintenance affects the durability of the road, and then you will now have the issues of citizens burning tires on the road. What are you doing in terms of ensuring quality maintenance of our road infrastructure?
Thank you for that beautiful question. I tell people a road is as good as its drain. If the drain is not good, then you can forget about that road. It's just a matter of time. And all of the things that you see that is looking like, oh, these roads are going bad, is because of our habits as a people. Our maintenance, our attitude to maintenance. We often don't distill. Lagos is a flat terrain. Most of those drains that we have, the gradient, the velocity, the self-cleansing velocity is really not there. You need enough headroom, gravity to be able to allow that desiltation to stop. So what I tell people is this: if you have your regular desilting process, that drain is able to be cleaned regularly, your roads are likely to last longer. But what do you have when you put tires in the drain? When people take refuse and decide that the drains are the dustbin where this thing would flow, believe that when it rains, the rain has the ability to be able to pack all of them away. That's anarchy. That's a recipe for disaster. So one of the things I tell people is, when we do these roads and we spend good taxpayers' money to provide this infrastructure or to maintain them, either new or to maintain, it builds us to take ownership of those assets. And we can only do this if we stop burning tires in the name of vigilante operations. Because when you burn those tires, it's apart from the fact that it's like pollution, it's environmentally hazardous. It also, the lifespan of that pavement is destroyed, because then it's subjected to heat, and then it shrinks, and then you see craters begin to form there. So we say it's one of the cardinal programs in this ministry. We have a zero tolerance. We tell you, take ownership of this asset, stop burning tires. Don't put in refuse in the drains, because they don't make these assets last. So it's my advice to Lagosians. These roads have been built with our money, your money, and it builds on all of us to keep it well. And the only way we can keep it well is when we begin to take ownership of them and stop doing all of those acts.
I have another question from Taiwo Ololade Salvador. Any plans to decongest the toll gate in Lekki area? We need a program to change the narrative. The traffic creates a lot of time wasted in monetary value. And I have two others after that.
Okay, so my colleague, the Commissioner for Transport, there's a program that we have. There's something, this administration we have. We're beginning to work out some programs that congestion, it's a queuing theory. That queue up, just like Lekki, we did that on Lekki Koi Bridge, and people saw the traffic reduce. We're thinking of doing something in the same manner for Lekki Epe, and at the end of the day, I'm sure negotiations will be happy for what they have. The traffic studies are almost being concluded. It's a normal queuing theory process. You're just applying it, and at the end of the day, that gridlock should disappear.
There's a question from Dr. Felix Akenusi. He says, 1,000 clap for the Honorable Special Advisor and Mr. Governor. Many Nigerians like the work delivery of Julius Berger over the years. The construction company is tested and trusted by many. In light of this, many are complaining about the work delivery of CCECC in some location in terms of speed and quality, durability. A Special Advisor, what is your assessment of the ongoing work by CCEC since the inception of the current government in terms of speed, quality, durability, and cost effectiveness? And the second question is that some areas like Trade Fair, Ojo Barracks, Vokes, Iyanoba, Okokomaiko are left out by contractors. And the construction of Osho, the Abule Egba BRT corridor, and Agege overhead are still ongoing. Any assurance on the completion in the next few months or years?
Okay,
that's
so
a lot.
It's a lot of questions. Yes, I will tell you. The fact that I came from, I don't like to talk across. Now I think I'm in a public space. The fact that I came from Julius Berger, it should not be a reference point. But the only reference point is like maybe a benchmark for quality. But even if I didn't come from Julius Berger, I have a hallmark for excellence. Anything I like to do well. And so one of the things that I said for me, it's motivation. Your staff, your morale, the morale of your staff, motivation and capacity development. They need to know what exactly to look out for, the engineers, what to look out for in the supervision of these roads. And so we haven't done that process. I haven't re-groomed and retooled them. They are ready. They understand what exactly it takes. CCC is a contractor like anybody. They are being supervised. And like I said, we reject our process of supervision. In terms of quality, like I told you, the QAQC, you asked me, you said, when I leave, what would you like to be known for? I said, a woman who has come and who has set something in process to ensure value for money, at the same time institutionalized QAQC processes that we know that when we say this is what we're doing, we do it this way and we get the desired outcomes. And that's what we're poised to do. The QAQC that you see happening in public works didn't happen overnight. There were resistance, but everybody has found that this is the way to go. Pavement testing for pavements. It's a shame that at this stage of our lives as a country that we'll begin to, when we do roads, within 2-3 months we'll see potholes. It's simply because there were no quality control checks on the pavement. And so when you just put the asphalt without those pavement checks, those quality controls, you will say the roads are failing. So what we have done is this: before you start building those pavements, ensure that those pavements have been tested all from the subgrade up to the final base level. So we have laboratories now, we have people, and we know that the government cannot do it alone. So we are certified laboratories accredited certified laboratories that will test those pavements based on the locality of where the contractor is working. So those act like independent testing aside from what the contractor is doing. The other thing is to ensure that in your retention, retention is there, but there is a defect liability period in any contract. That when all of these defects are seen, you are made to correct the snags that are obvious on those projects, and we're enforcing that. So when you say that, there's a contractor who hasn't done well in terms of quality or whatever, it's reflecting people right from the start. Make sure your supervision is thorough, that you get value for money. You put your foot down where it needs to be done, and get the thing done correctly. The cost of the work is high. No contractor likes to go back to begin to repeat work. So I often appeal to my engineers: make sure when you're supervising, look out for all of the loopholes and get things done accurately and well. So the question to the CCEC, we're very much on top of it. Anything that is not done according to the standards, you can be rest assured that they will be corrected. That's why we have a defects liability period. That's why we have provisions in the contract to address such. On Abule-Egba, the BRT lane, we will finish them. One of the cardinal things focus of this addition is government is a continuum. So even if you met a project, if it's in the overriding interest of the public, we will do our utmost best to finish it. That is why we went back to finish Lagos-Badagry Expressway, even though it was not this addition that started it, but it's in the best interest because it will help us. The blue line, there's no point for us. How will the blue line connect if this doesn't finish? In the same manner, Penn Cinema was in the last administration, but it's desired we need to remove the gridlock around the Penn Cinema roundabout. So we have taken the bulls by the horn and we're determined and poised to finish it. The multi-agency building in Alausa was a project that started about 8 years ago, and we're doing our best to finish it before the end of the year. Ditto the revenue house. So there's so many projects that we met on ground, but once it's in the overriding interest of the public and we look at it, we put it in our budget and we plan for it. So at the end of the day, we can reduce the stock of the uncompleted projects that we met on ground.
There's a final question on that. I think you mentioned one more thing.
It mentioned two questions: the quality for CCEC, and then the assurance that the work, the Abule-Egba will be finished, and which I said yes, it's a commitment by the state government. And you can see, I'm sure the gentleman who asked the question will testify to the fact that between January and now, the amount of work that has been done in Abule-Egba speaks to the fact that the matter is up and doing as an agency in the supervision of that project.
I think the other question was about trade fair or job barrack, Volks, Iyanoba, Okoko Michael. It says they're left out by contractors.
So in the course of work that CCEC is doing, there are areas that seemingly have issues of right of way. By the barracks, the military personnel, there's a portion that they needed to be able to hand over so that the contractor can work. Once that is sorted out, the contractor will move back to that location. So if you see CCEC leave a portion, is because there are encumbrances in the right of way, and that's why rather than wait and stay on a particular location, it is best for them to move and then go work in other areas and come back as soon as that encumbrance is removed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lagosians, the quality of our cabinet members, in particular, the special advisor to the governor on works and infrastructure. Ugoma Cookie says, great to hear that all projects will be completed and government is a continuum. Well done. That's from Ugoma Cookie. Madam Special Advisor, we're very grateful for your time. You Lagosians will attest that you have spoken to us out of your heart, your energy in delivering your purpose, and you are clear on what you're doing and what you plan to do. We can only pray that the Almighty God will continue to strengthen you and increase you and bless you in this time and season. Before we go, I want to ask you one question, and that's away from all the busy questions about Lagos and Lagosians' priorities. Is there any moment in the last 1 year for you that you've just looked at Mr. Governor and say, you know, what's your most interesting or funny moment with Mr. Governor? The SDG talked about how Mr. Governor announced a number on television without her knowing. And she was like, oh my God, what has Mr. Governor done? Is there any interesting, light joke or experience that you'd like to share to show the human part of His Excellency Mr. Governor to the people who are watching?
Okay, thank you. I think that happened at the Eco Hotel at the council. There was a lot of traffic that day. It was a snarling traffic. As a matter of fact, I think the ceremony was supposed to start by 10, and I got into the ceremony at 11. The governor for Ondo State, so there were so many governors from Oyogun and the deputy governors, their wives. And then Mr. Governor came in exactly 5 minutes, so it was right behind me, maybe 3 cars behind me. I was in front, and as soon as I got in, so everybody had a bite of the traffic that day. So when he said, he was trying to say the fact that there were potholes on the road, and what was the reason for the traffic? This was also was starting in September or so, October, when we are just coming, and then the repair process had not commenced in earnest. And so it was just a little pothole that had caused it. In fact, that gridlock, if that pothole had been addressed, we would have saved enough man hours. But as soon as it got to the podium, I went to this traffic today, and I know the special advisor. In fact, as soon as my phone rang, and the governor said, I said, Mr. Governor, I know what you want to say. You want to talk about this pothole in front of Babbage, like this. So he said, well, the essay is here. In fact, the moment I called her phone, he exposed me and said, I just called her, but the moment she picked up her phone, she said, Mr. Governor, I'm on top of it. So I just want to reassure you that she's not. So I think it's like knowing who you are as a person. He revealed who I was as a person to the gathering that day, and that was, for me, was embarrassing.
Was that the road on Ahmadu Bello Way beside Federal Palace?
Ahmadu Bello Way, yes,
beside
exactly.
Federal Palace, because there was a picture of you and him. There was a picture of you and him, when they were fixing that road that you visited the place. I assume that's the one you're talking about.
No. This was during council. This was during council, and there was a particular pothole that was causing the gridlock that made the traffic snarl all the way from Federal Palace up to a hotel. The one you're talking about, Mr. Governor, in his passion, the cold patch. A lot of Nigerians will say, "Oh, why is it that they can't fix roads during the rain?" You can always fix roads during the rain. The question is, at what cost? Cold patch asphalt, there's technology everywhere. You have cold patch asphalt that you can use to fix. The question is, at what cost? When you're doing a cold patch is about 4 times more expensive than the cost of normal hot road asphalt that we know here. So we ask ourselves, is this what we want to do given the little resources of the state and given the budget size for maintenance? And so rather we'll prefer to put base costs in, put some boulders to aggregate, let people be able to go through. It's a lot of stress and pain, but conserving the funds to repair the roads fully once the rains have stopped. And that's what we have done the last 3-4 months after that rain stopped. And I'm sure Lagosians will say, we are not yet there, but I think we have attempted to do a lot of those palliatives and asphalt roads better for coming for the rains. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the special advisor to the governor on works and infrastructure. Thank you so much, madam, for your time, for taking the time to explain to us and all our viewers about the progress that is being made, and also to be able to explain and take questions from our viewers who are satisfied that they were engaged and they were able to express their opinions, and according to them, intelligent delivery. We hope that you will continue to do great things for the people of Lagos. We're very grateful for your time, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much, Madam Special Advisor. Thank you so much, everyone who is watching, and for taking your time and your data to be a part for it. Madam Special Advisor, what is your final comment to our viewers and to those who watch the video later?
Believe in the government. Believe in this administration. You can be rest assured that everybody, including Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, every cabinet member, we're not resting on our ears. The enormity of the problems are much, but you can be rest assured we're taking them headlong. Everybody in their spheres, we're addressing all of the problems the way they are supposed to be. We're not taking it with levity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all our viewers. We're very grateful. Time and your attention. I look forward to see you again tomorrow and next tomorrow and all the time thereafter. Thank you so much and have a great evening. Ramadan Kareem to all our Muslim friends. Thank you.